Hello and welcome back to First Issue Club, your weekly comic book podcast that took a hell of a break.
Man, summer vacation was wild.
I'm Mike DeStacy.
I'm Greg Lichtai.
And you'll notice we're Sans the Budget King, taking a temporary role in First Issue Club moving forward, so he'll be in and out a little bit.
He's behind the scenes doing, he's like the mayor of Oz. He's like behind the sheet, and his head's very giant.
Yeah, he's a backseat driver with a really big head, giving us all opinions,
right,
but not helping make the show.
He's writing us very long emails after every episode's published about what we should have talked about and what we did wrong.
The worst type of collaborator.
Piece of shit.
All right, you want to get into it?
Let's do it.
I mean, we've missed a lot of comic book stuff. There's a couple things that I think we could probably rattle off on, like the battle over Peach Momoko.
NYCC
2022. A lot of drama.
Hashtag protect Peach.
Protect Peach. Exactly right.
I feel like she's one of those people that is too nice.
Yes.
For her own good. She loves fans, which is wonderful.
Yes.
But people in charge of her booth, her wranglers, severely let her down.
I'm glad to hear your Team Peach. I don't know what would happen to this First Issue Club restart.
There would be a riff.
Yeah.
It'd be like
we'd have to stop
Cap
the show
and Iron
immediately.
Man. It'd be our own civil war here. How can you be anti-Peach?
I saw it on the internet.
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
I saw people who were like, I'll never buy a Peach Momoko cover ever again.
For what? She stayed there and did signatures.
She was like hiding under a table, I've read, which is like this poor person.
Why don't you give the folks more details about what happened?
Okay. Obviously, Peach Momoko, one of the biggest stars in comic books right now, especially for Marvel heads.
Last 5 years, she has blown up.
Yeah, Eisner Award-winning cover artist, and does her own series that's wildly popular at Marvel now called Demon Days. Doesn't do cons very often.
And we see why.
And it's difficult for you to get a signature of hers because of that. So she comes to NYCC. She's going to do free signatures, $20 remarks, and $50 like quick sketches for people, which is like unbelievable for an artist of her caliber to charge so low.
Right.
She wants to give back to the fans, yada, yada. At conventions, vendors and retailers can get priority access to creators so they can get back to their own booth quickly. They're also fans. The vendors were grossly taking advantage of how cheap and how many things Peach would sign for free.
Yeah, the generosity was taken advantage of.
Exactly right. People were trying to just take as much as they could back to eBay and sell it, sell it, sell it. Peach Momoko's husband was there trying to stave off these
vultures
who they were telling, go away, we're not doing a line yet. And they just kept smirking at him and being like, this isn't a line, and crowding the booth. And it eventually got to a point with other fans trying to get in that were boxed out, that tensions got really high. And we almost had a fight, you know.
Which a fight at a Comic-Con is probably the just the wussiest thing.
But I heard it was like moments away from like a fist fight.
Like getting hit with Hulk hands or plastic Mjolnir.
The convention shut it down for a moment just to like be like, this is inappropriate. We can't have this happening. But eventually they got things back in order, and Peach signed a ton of comics and did a lot of remarks for people and had a lot of great experiences at the con. But there's just been a lot of online discourse about
I'm heated
how
just
she was
hearing you talk about it.
Treated by vendors and retailers and people trying to take advantage of the situation and how bad she feels about it. I mean, she's posted on social several times about how awful she feels about the situation, and I don't think she should feel awful about it at all.
No, I wouldn't blame her if she didn't do cons again for another year. I mean, Chip Zdarsky stopped doing them, not because people were mobbing his booth, but he had other reasons. But like,
I 100% agree, and she's already said that she's like plans to come back to New York City Comic Con and plans to do other conventions, yada yada. So
I'm sure she has a different plan in place of how signatures will go.
I think they need to figure out with.
She needs a limit.
Yeah,
five books only. Up the price on remarks and sketches so they don't get taken advantage of.
Yep.
You know, first 2 SIGs are free, and then they're $10 a piece.
Yeah, even if it's like
I should be your manager.
Well, I could even saying like, hey, if you've got a vendor badge on,
yeah,
you're just like not getting a remark.
Right.
I have to see your guest badge in order for you to get a remark or something.
And
Because
like
that should be for the fans.
you're willing, you can wait in the fan line with your vendor badge on, but like you can't get the fast pass and then bring 50 books to get remarked.
Yeah.
That you're taking a and I get that is, it should have been spelled out differently or explained differently by the con, by Peach's, management company or whatever.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate that this opportunity got taken advantage of. But I wish that someone would have stepped in with NYCC and been like, you know what? We're shutting it down for a little bit and we're going to reestablish the rules of Peach's line.
All right. So Team Peach.
Hashtag protect the Peach.
Protect Peach. You're a cherished treasure in the comic book world.
Yeah. And a workhorse, man. Like, she has covers
Yeah.
on almost every book now.
Totally. Like
every
multiple
Marvel book,
sometimes.
yes.
So I'm glad she came out of it with some positives and so on and so forth. Okay, I had like one other thing,
Shoot me.
and then
I'm sorry.
and I think
What
you've
is
got
it?
and I think you've got some other topics
Yeah.
potentially too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really wanted to mention a Bleeding Cool article that was titled "DC Cancels Heterosexual Robin Comic After 17 Issues as Sales Fall Flat," which was a direct response to several other articles that were written about Son of Kal-El being canceled after 18 issues
Right.
and blaming his sexuality and wokeness
Mhm.
for why the book didn't succeed. Meanwhile, Robin gets canceled sooner than Son of Kal-El got canceled,
Uh-huh.
and I believe its sales were lower than Son of Kal-El.
Sure.
And no one's obviously going to write an article blaming heterosexuality and anti-wokeness
Mhm.
for this. But Rich Johnston, I think,
Mhm.
from Bleeding Cool, wrote this article and had things in it that were like, Josh Williamson pandering to his dwindling straight audience.
I can't.
It made me laugh so hard, and I was like, yes, like the satire of this just like
Is it? It's,
hits so perfectly.
the line is like it's almost too satirical, where people are like, "What the hell?" Like,
Were people mad about the article?
I don't think people
understood that
got
it. Was,
it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
because it was so thinly laced with satire that like you had to understand that it was referencing other articles that were just like, well, the reason that John King got canceled was because it was gay, and it was like the SJWs rally for this book, but they don't buy it, so like they're proof in the pudding that it doesn't matter, and it's just like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was mostly obviously tons of blogs did things that were like DC cancels in all caps,
Mhm.
gay Superman, which I've got so many problems with like just that title.
Right.
The Daily Mail, I don't know if it was like a leak or if they published what went into like putting this article together,
Uh-huh.
and it was like very targeted, very condescending, like apparently Velma's a lesbian too, frowny emoji. And it just had this stink to it that was like, let's come after this group of people. And it's like when you take the parallels and say same thing is happening with this
Mhm.
comic book that focused around a heterosexual relationship and sidekick, that like no one's blaming who he fucks
No, on
Or-
sales.
or who he's in love with for the the dwindling sales of that
Right.
comic. It's just ridiculous.
It's so stupid. This happened when it was first announced that John Kent was going to be bisexual. It's like people
Yeah.
who don't read comic books or understand what's happening all of a sudden have a comment, and
Yeah.
it makes Fox News, and it's just like, stay the fuck out of it. You don't know what's happening, and it doesn't affect your life. Who gives a shit if Velma is queer now?
Yeah.
Doesn't affect you. Doesn't change how you go about your life. Milk is still $7. And it still takes 20 minutes to drive to work. Like, what the fuck is happening? The world keeps turning. Velma likes chicks. Cool. Like, who is killing kids? That's what's important. That's
Yeah.
what these kids need to focus on.
Yeah, exactly right.
In rant.
And rant there. And I just noticed in my notes I had one other thing that I wanted to mention.
Oh my God.
Sorry, but have you seen the Disney 100th anniversary covers?
Fuck yes.
Oh my gosh. I feel like as a comic book fan, these are the things I'm supposed to hate,
Yes. But I love them.
but I love them so much. I love seeing like Bluto redone as like the
Mole Man.
from like Fantastic Four #1.
It's the right amount of cringe
Yes.
and chuggy, and it's just like, fuck yeah. Like, my geriatric millennial brain is like, gimme.
There's a Hulk Goofy one that's like, what if Goofy got
Right.
gamma radiation?
Yuck. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
And I know the response in my brain is just supposed to be like fucking commercialization and Disney taking over, like Disney's evil. But like, man, it's just like pop art and iconic
Right.
characters like crossing over into like iconic situations is like sugar for my brain. I love it.
It's this weird, subversive Andy Warhol juxtaposition of just like, let's make it even more sugary. It's like if death metal bands adapted Hello Kitty logos. Those things shouldn't go together, but I want to see Rotting Christ and like Hello Kitty mashup immediately.
Well, and there's so much of a culture online with art, with people doing like Bart Simpson, but he's
Akira.
yeah, but he's Akira and he's wearing Adidas gear. You know what I mean? Like all these cross-cultural, cross-medium things slamming together.
Right.
And I kind of love that. And these are like tickling that same part of my brain.
Right.
I think. So,
It's like, you got chocolate in my peanut butter, you got peanut butter in my chocolate.
Yep.
And now we have Reese's peanut butter cups.
I'm buying them. Leave me alone about it.
Oh, 100% I'm buying them. Like, was that even a question? And what's great about that, they're not more expensive than a regular comic. They're $4.
Yeah, those are like B covers.
So thank you, Marvel Disney, for not making them $25 a piece.
To make me buy Disney ads for more money.
Right. I already subscribed to Disney Plus, so these should already be mailed to me, but that's fine. Is that all you got?
That's all I had. That was Mike's list. Moving forward on the show, do we want to have Mike's topics and Greg's topics?
We can. Some lists may be longer than others some of the weeks.
Whoever goes first is probably going to steal a lot of the
that's
topics.
Fine. You didn't steal any of mine.
Wow.
2 of mine, real quick.
Yep.
The DCU is imploding. Ezra Miller,
oh, the movies.
Yes, the movies. Like Gal Gadot not coming back to be Wonder Woman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I saw Dwayne Johnson did an interview where he said they didn't want Henry Cavill to come back.
Right. Because they can't afford him and they don't have a plan going forward for what's going to happen.
What happens to Superman?
I mean, like, I think Flash and Black Adam are kind of the last death rattles of it, and then they just got to figure out what they're going to do. I assume it's going to be...
there's another Shazam movie coming out.
Oh, that's true. I guess so. There's that.
And Black Adam and Shazam can duke it out, and that'll be a fun, probably trilogy, or Shazam trilogy anyway, where it like ends with a third movie that's Black.
And
Black
I
Adam
didn't mind
Shazam.
Shazam. I thought Shazam was actually kind of a move in the right direction.
Yes.
As far as tonality.
Yes.
DC fans complained it was too Marvel of a move, but
I'm not going to pick on anybody for liking the darker, more serious movies.
No, we could give a shit.
Or the lighter ones. You like what you like. I'm not going to yuck your yum.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like nice to have a little diversity in
a little brevity.
The group. Yeah, I think it's like fun to just have a movie here that's a little sillier and then have a movie there that's more serious. I mean, there are Marvel movies that I'm like could be grittier.
Oh, for sure. It probably would have been nice to be a little grittier.
Sure.
But I mean, they canceled the Batgirl movie, which sucks because it sounded like it was a good time, and the fact that they have stood behind Ezra Miller for so long, is a little baffling. I mean, he's had countless arrests and accusations of abuse that I think they're just trying to get the Flash movie out into the world and then cut ties with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be some kind of time travel thing or alternate universe thing coming up to do the recast or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess there's an Aquaman 2 coming out, right?
I have no idea.
Anyway, it ain't going great over at Warner Brothers. WWB somewhere else in about 5 years. And then finally, I want to have a serious talk about Kickstarter for a minute.
Sure.
I have backed a good amount of Kickstarters, and you pay a little bit of a premium with Kickstarters because you think you're helping the creator
get
their shit done, and that's great. That's fantastic. what I've noticed recently is that most of those Kickstarters that I have kickstarted
Yeah.
have found their way onto Image, onto Scout, onto Aftershock, and I could just go buy those for $5.
Yeah.
Instead of paying $25 and waiting 8 months to get it.
Well, and a lot of times publishers are doing the Kickstarters themselves now.
They have started. Bad Idea has started to do Kickstarters for their stuff, and this is the yum I will yuck because I don't like it. I don't like the doopiness of it. Of just like Kickstarter used to be kind of the playground of indie creators. Of just like, I had this idea. Publishers really aren't sold on it yet, but I still want to make it with my friends.
Yeah. And if you believe in me, we'll get it done.
Right. And we'll get it done, and we'll be printed, and we'll send it out to you.
And publishers doing them themselves who have the capacity to take a chance on things when they want.
Right.
Kind of violates the spirit of Kickstarter.
Right.
I get that.
The biggest example I can think of right now is Berserker with, Matt Kent and Keanu Reeves, how that went through Kickstarter first and then went on to Boom, and now it's like going to be a TV show or some shit. It's like, what happened here? Why did we need to kickstart this if it was going to be already like a greenlit thing for so many avenues?
Yeah.
It just seemed like a weird marketing ploy, to be honest. So
and for clarity on that, I've read that Matt Kent didn't have anything to do with that Kickstarter or the campaign of...
I'm not yucking Matt Kent's yum. I know he's a hired gun. He got called in to help Keanu write the damn thing.
Yeah, right.
Matt, if you're hearing this, and I know you are because you're a fan, you're my good time boy. You're my sweet cheese. Matt Kent, I see you at every con, and we talk. You're a good dude, and you always sign my stuff for free.
Yeah, and he sketches for free, too, which is killer.
Yeah, and he does this cool thing now with Flux House, which is his new imprint.
On Dark Horse, right?
Yes. He, like, fucks up your books. So they're, like, extra unique. Like, he'll take a lighter to them or, like, cut them up.
That's funny.
And it's just, like, it's cool because, like, Flux House is, like, based upon, like, some, like, Dadaist, like, art movement that happened in the 30s and 40s.
Right.
And he's really embracing that. And so he's like, I'm really going to make my sketches and remarks really lasting. And I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. But
well, and it's also an interesting thing to say, hey, the creator destroyed this book in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
imagine being the CGC.
What's the grade on it, right?
Right.
Like, this is something that was intentionally done to a book by its creator as a form of art. And I think one thing you're going to see a lot more of is, you know how I don't think CGC does this yet, but CBCS has an option where instead of a grade, you can just get a label that says art.
Oh.
And people are like, you have an amazing remark on something from an amazing artist, and because it's a 9.4 or a 9.6, like, the value of it is, like, tanked.
Sure.
And it's like, the whole point of it is the art. I don't care if it gets fucked up a little bit because...
I'm trying to preserve the art.
So, yeah, someone is, like, making something on it. So, of course, like, the corners are going to get dinged and the cover's going to be lived in a little bit because we're drawing all over it, right? The point's not the grade. The point's the art. So I think we'll see more of that in the grading world and as things evolve like this.
Which will hopefully set the spec world into a spiral. Because how can you price something that just says art?
Yeah.
Because they rely on that grade to price things out.
You're going to have to think about what the art is worth to you.
Mm-hmm. And then subjectivity gets involved, and it is fun. And that's all the pithy news hits that I had. It was kind of a slow summer, to be honest. Not a lot of things
Good summer to take off.
were announced, and I think they knew we were taking the summer off, to be honest, and they're saving it for...
Well, First Issue Club's not going to be here to hype it. Why even do it at all?
It's not going to be in the news hit. It's not going to make Mike's list or Greg's list. Why even drop news?
Okay, so one thing we wanted to do, just in honor of our
return
and First Issue Club.
The prophecy was correct. We returned.
Was to hit on some of the books that we missed over the break.
Yeah.
That we would recommend. So we each did a
top five.
Did you do all first issues?
Yes, they had first issues that came out. They're like on issue 3 and 4 now, but while
exactly
we were gone.
Right. I did the same thing. So I've got my top 5, you got your top 5.
Yes.
And we'll just go back and forth?
Sure. There may be crossover.
I'm sure there will be.
I'm going to start with number 5 and wing my way up.
Sounds good. We've got similar tastes. I'm sure we're going to have the same hits.
Okay. Number 5 for me is a book that recently came out called Rogues Gallery on Image.
Yeah.
It's already been greenlit to be a TV show.
Don Cheadle's production company, I think, optioned it.
Very cool. It's a commentary on toxic fandom.
Yeah.
And how these fans basically are upset about something, dress up as like arch villains of this person's character that they're obsessed with of a TV show or something.
Yeah.
And they go to like attack her or kill her or just...
They're like home invaders.
Yes.
They like go to terrorize her in her home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think an interesting crux of this is that these toxic fans put her in a place where she's got to like literally
live her character
and like real life, like fight for survival against people dressed as her TV show villains.
Right.
I've only read the first issue of it so far,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many like beautiful things going on with the commentary it's making and the symbolism of the situation that the characters get put in, and just the different types of fans that exist, and how people can be bullied or swayed by the friend group that they're in or their culture that they're surrounded by, and how much the way we talk about things influences people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have more positivity in the comic book space if this book teaches us anything.
Yeah.
This might be another thing, just like She-Hulk, where people, if this does get turned into a show, people
Get upset about it.
hate the show because they see a lot of themselves in it, and they're the bad guy all of a sudden.
And if that's the case, and if you are offended by what's happening in the show, that's an opportunity to look at yourself and be like, maybe I'm doing these things, and I'm the one who... Because it really is the commentary of fans inserting themselves so much so into their obsession that they feel like they have ownership of it.
Yep.
And that's not the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we as viewers need to just view the art form as a separate thing to enjoy or not enjoy.
Yeah. And
It's
again,
not-
the idea that you are owed this.
Right. And it's not our responsibility to voice ourselves so loudly that it's swayed in a way that makes us feel good.
Yeah.
Because then it's just like, it's no longer the thing that you fell in love with. It's something that you want to control.
Yeah.
And
And we're going to get rid of the art in everything.
everyone thinks that their input is needed for fucking everything.
Yeah, right.
Like, imagine if Leonardo da Vinci lived now,
Mm-hmm.
and like everyone would be like, "Why doesn't Mona Lisa show her teeth a little bit?" You know, like, Leo, what are you doing? You're gonna go with that color palette for that? Like, can you make it a little bigger? It's awful small. Like, I love that these shows now and these comic books now have reached the point where it's now commentary of just like, you're not owed shit.
Yeah.
And here's why. And it's eloquent, and it's spelled out so beautifully that it's hard to ignore.
Yeah. I'll say about Rogues Gallery specifically, I love the way it started, that it was like you saw scenes from the show.
From the show, yeah.
And so you're like, oh, it's like a traditional superhero comic, and then it flips off to like hear people talking about the show.
Yeah, like in like a room or something talking about the show and like how it was a stupid point here or like something cool
Exactly
here.
right. So when I imagine this show getting adapted, I could definitely see that being like a twist.
Mm-hmm.
That you might even go like a full episode or two in the world of the show,
Right.
before it makes that turn and you realize like, oh, these are actors playing a part.
Yeah.
That was a fun format for the first issue. And I do want to say kudos to a first-time comic writer
Debut book.
knocked it out of the park.
And that was Buck, B-E-W-K. Buck. All right, so that was my number 5.
It was my number 2.
Oh, boy.
I had it high up there.
Okay. This is going to get spicy.
We might do we might have all the exact same list.
Just like out of order. And that's how you get to know us as people.
Exactly right. All right, my number 5 is a book called Variants out on Marvel Comics.
Oh, my God. That's my number 4.
All right, so we had that one similarly placed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Variants is Gail Simone and Phil Noto.
Well, powerhouse. Holy shit.
Two creators that I just absolutely love.
Yeah.
And this is a Jessica Jones story.
Not enough Jessica Jones, in my opinion.
Hey, I agree. But it's like a mystery miniseries.
Yep.
Where Jessica is meeting different versions of her
Mm-hmm.
from different multiverses.
Yes.
And trying to solve that mystery. And if you've read Jessica Jones before, you know she's like a private eye and kind of it has that detective solving the mystery sort of feel. But this is doing it in a bigger Marvel superhero-y sort of way.
But it's also very small and self-contained.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really like about it is that it does take the different personalities and aspects of Jessica Jones or the things that we know about her.
Yeah.
And every different version is like that aspect of Jessica on steroids.
Yes.
So we've got like the leather jacket Jessica that's
a badass. Punch
and,
first, ask questions later.
Pissed about everything. And then there's like this
Captain America,
super patriotic, like I'm a superhero.
Jewel,
her like superhero alter ego that like in her universe never encountered the Purple Man. So you're like, what would have happened if Jessica wasn't like abused?
Yes. That's all I've seen so far.
But it's cool to see her like not be a team player and then have to be in a team of like all of her.
It's like the Marvel multiplicity.
Yeah. It's just a really fun book. And if you like those like PI detective sort of stories and you like the sci-fi superhero bent, this is a little more superhero fantasy palatable than past Jessica Jones things have been.
Like, because the Purple Man is still involved somehow.
Yeah.
She keeps passing out for whatever reason. It's not really a whodunit. It's just like a, why is all this happening? Yeah. Oh, I love a good why is it. It's my favorite genre.
All right, so we know that's your number 4. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Minor Threats on Dark Horse, written by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum.
Great book.
It is so funny. First and foremost, I am a Patton Oswalt shill.
Yeah.
Everything that guy puts out, I'm a big fan of. This doesn't let it get a pass or anything. It's a great book.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Superhero criminals and like their daily lives, and just like they try to form a team, and like it's very funny. It's very pithy. There's good commentary, like Rogue Gallery, and Patton, as probably a lot of you know who are listening, huge comic book fan.
Yeah.
And so whenever he gets a chance to write a comic book, I always pick it up because it's kind of like when Donny Cates did Crossover. It's like kind of like a weird love letter.
Yeah.
Here's why I loved comics, and like here's what I wanted to see when I was reading comics. So
totally.
That's my number 3, and it's 3 because of Patton.
It was on my honorable mentions list.
Oh yeah.
Didn't make my top 5.
Interesting. So not as much overlap as I thought.
Yeah.
So you're number 3.
My number 3 is a book called Sacrament on AWA.
Oh.
Have you read this?
No.
Yeah. It's a Peter Milligan book.
Peter. Also Irish, I believe.
I think so. I don't know. Is he?
He did Scarlet-Hood. No, that's not Peter Milligan. Anyway, Peter Milligan.
I love him most from Ecstatics.
Oh, that's right. God damn it.
What X-Force at one point turned into. It was like super punk rock with Mike Allred.
Yeah.
And really great series. They've got like a part 2.
Happening right now? Is it still going?
It might have just finished.
It was a mini.
Because I think it was like a 6-issue mini. Okay, so in this book, it's set way in the future. Humanity's abandoned Earth in like the year 3000 or something, right? It's like that far out in the future.
Okay.
And it exists in a world wherein religion is outlawed and only exists on the fringes of culture. So
the good old days.
There's this guy who's like a renegade priest, and he's caught and arrested. But instead of being taken to like a prison camp that he thinks he's going to go to, he's taken to these like political offices, and they're like, we need you to look into what could potentially be a demonic possession.
Go on.
So now we're like leaning into the world where like, okay, all these people who outlawed religion are starting to see unexplainable things, and they're wanting this priest to
check it out,
check it out, because he's got this like mythos surrounding him about having done actual exorcisms and all these things, but he's also a character who's battling with his faith. We've talked about this before, like being raised Catholic.
Right.
I think we're really into some of these like religious fantasy sci-fi sort of books, and I always love possession horror stuff. And maybe part of the reason this book is so high for me right now is just that we're in mid-October.
The spooky season.
And like I'm like digging like the fantasy horror stuff right now
Mhm.
a lot. I just love the first issue, and that's another one where I haven't had a chance to read the second yet, but the first one was so strong. It's my number 3.
So, set in the year 3000,
Or at least humanity abandoned Earth in the year 3000.
is it dystopian?
Humanity's
Okay.
flourishing.
Okay, so I'm assuming technology has taken a leap since it's like 1,000 years in the future from where we are.
Like Star Wars, Star Trek
Okay,
level.
Meta is thriving right now. Zuckerberg's in his second cyborg transformation.
Uh-huh.
So that is interesting because, like, even the sci-fi stuff that we see now, you brought up Star Wars or Star Trek, there is never really that religious tone to it because all of the storytelling is just like society has outgrown religion.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, the story is to progress in technology, like humanity had to shed that skin of like an all-knowing being watching us, and that like held us back. And once we shed that off of us, like boom, we have like cars that can fly or some shit. What was it again? Sacrament?
Sacrament
On AWA?
on AWA, yep.
Is it an AWA upshot or is it just AWA?
I don't know. I have no clue what Upshot
Those
is.
imprints will get you.
The imprint, Upshot is an imprint, but for a while every book was Upshot.
Yeah, I don't know what it means.
Yeah, neither do I.
Is that like it's like jettisoned for TV?
Good.
It's on the upshot. Okay, so number 5 was what for you?
My number 5?
Yeah.
I'll just go through my list again real quick. It was, oh shit.
You didn't do number 5.
My number 5 was Variants.
Okay, yeah. Did you do number 4?
I skipped my number 4.
I knew we missed something.
Because we did your number 4.
Well,
Sacrament was my number 3.
What was your number 4?
Do you want to do a turn and then come back to me, or do you want me to just
No,
because
because we'll be off. We'll be off.
Okay. Shit, sorry.
No, that's fine.
My number 4 is an image book
Mhm.
called Love Everlasting
Tom King.
by Tom King. And the illustrator I love, Elsa Charrier or something like that. I don't.
Yeah.
She's French. I don't know totally how to pronounce her last name,
It's okay.
but fabulous style. I really wanted to recommend this book on the show because from the covers, it's obviously like marketed as like a romance comic.
Mhm.
It's got that vintage anthology style romance comic vibe and feel to it, especially in the first issue where you get like a couple romance stories. But over the course of the first issue, you begin to realize that something is amiss, that we've got a singular character carried through all these romance stories that transcend different times. And she realizes she's trapped in this cycle
Yeah, she's like
of
stuck in
different
it.
romance stories.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to like figure out why she's stuck in these or break the cycle of it. And I believe this is an ongoing series, and the plan is to like go quite a while.
I think so.
It's so far the first few issues have been very cool, and I love the sci-fi element of it, trying to put together the mystery yourself. I just worry that people are skipping this comic, and I'm not going to get as many issues of it as I want because people think it's like a hokey romance comic.
Yeah.
But I also think, too, that there's going to be some interesting commentary in it, too, about being, like, addicted to love or...
Might as well face it. You're addicted to love.
Or being stuck in a relationship or needing to get out of a relationship. I just see room there for, like, a statement to be made.
Do we know why she's stuck in there? We're figuring out with her, right?
Yeah, we're figuring out with her.
That's what I remembered. Okay.
Yeah.
That made my honorable mentions as well. I mean,
Hey.
Image right now, they're celebrating their like 35th anniversary of being a publisher.
Uh-huh.
Fucking pulling out atom bombs of new series.
Yeah, the new series is sure great.
They are just like unloading good work.
Yeah.
So, Love Everlasting, very good book. To Mike's chagrin, everyone please go pick up this book. Go read it so it goes to more issues.
Yes.
The cover is misleading, but the content is there, baby.
The content is there. And content is king.
It's key. Oh,
Written
king.
Written by Tom King.
God damn it. I fucked that up for you. That was a perfect segue.
You blew it. Okay, so mine. Variants number 5. Love Everlasting number 4. Sacrament number 3. We need your number 3 now.
My number 3 was Minor Threats.
Your number 3 was Minor Threats.
My number 4 was Variants. My number 5 was Rogue Gallery.
Okay. Man, are we good at lists or what?
We're kings at lists. Tom Kings. Love Everlasting.
Wow.
Go pick it up
Amazing.
at your local comic book shop. My number 2
Let's hear it.
is from the rough and rowdy boys of comic books, Donny Cates and Stegman, Vanish, out on Image Comics. It's a 90s kid's wet dream. Kids love chains, and Greg loves Vanish. This really hit me in the nostalgia, and it was supposed to.
Yeah.
But I got worried when I read the first few pages that it was just going to follow the Spawn tropes and be kind of like too on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Flipped it. It took what you thought it was going to be of like following this like washed up superhero and like, you know, follow this singular journey, and it kind of blossoms and explodes into this whole other story of like vengeance and revenge, and like it kind of reminded me of like old samurai movies of like hunting down this like otherworldly team of villains who each have their own special ability or attribute and like distinct look about them that like really like got me revved up of just like, I want to know each of these villains individually. I want to know what's on their playlists. I want to know like where they shop online. Like there's so much like rich character development already, and we were just introduced to them. If this book had come out in 1999, it would have sold 5 million copies. Easy.
In Cates we trust.
In Cates we trust. In Stegman we believe.
Exactly right. Can't go wrong. Those guys are great.
2 Kings. Tom King, Love Everlasting at your local comic book shop now.
All right, we already covered my number 2 because you hit it early on with Rogues Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on to my number 1.
Do it.
My number 1 comic is Prometheus 1313.
Wow.
Do you know anything about this book? Have you read it?
No.
This is out on a Blaze. It's by Andy Diggle with Sean Martinborough, who both worked on Thief of Thieves. You know, like when Kirkman
Oh, yes. I know Thief of Thieves.
Stepped away from Thief of Thieves, and like every trade since then has been a different creative team. This was one of the creative teams that did Thief of Thieves. Okay,
kind of a sleeper hit for Image.
It is.
It went for like 50 issues.
Yeah.
And it is fucking
and people don't
good.
talk about it that much.
It is very fucking good.
But I think a show's been in production for a while now.
It's so, it would be so easy to make that into a television
great show.
If you haven't, Thief of Thieves is my number 1. I'm just gonna say it.
You're pulling it up.
I'm pulling.
It's getting. We're adding 10 years.
Thief of Thieves. It is so good. Go find it in trade or whatever. It's so good.
All right, so maybe that speaks to how good this book is going to be because we've got a creative team that worked on that. But this book is actually a spin-off to a European comic that I've never read.
Prometheus 1312.
It's just Prometheus. End of story.
Oh, okay. Well,
no time code after it. But that book is I've since obviously like looked it up on the internet to see what the deal is, and that book's supposed to be fantastic.
wow. I've never heard of either of these books.
Yeah.
That's why I was like so shocked. I was like, this came out of left field. I was expecting something completely different, but go ahead.
So I'll say, obviously, since it's a prequel, I don't think you need to have read Prometheus at all because I didn't. And and it's like one of my favorite books of the summer. And I'll just give you the synopsis of it without spoiling anything I've read about Prometheus.
Okay.
But it follows this woman who was famously abducted by aliens as a child. And ever since, she's had visions of the apocalypse.
Oh, great.
She eventually comes out and says, like, hey, none of this stuff's real. Like, my parents pressured me into this, and I've had issues that I'm taking medication for, and I'm not having visions anymore. Like, you shouldn't come to me as some sort of leader or prophet for this and, like, alien culture or whatever. And there's a cult that doesn't sit well with.
Naturally.
And they kidnap her and take her off of her meds so they'll have an edge when the apocalypse comes.
So they're like using her as like a secret weapon of like knowing more about the apocalypse.
We'll know more about the apocalypse because we have this woman who we consider to be our prophet.
Yeah.
And right now, we don't really know if any of this stuff really happened. Like, she says she doesn't believe this stuff actually happened to her or was real, but just that ideas were put into her head.
How many issues is it already?
2 or 3 issues in.
Is it a mini or a maxi, or is it ongoing?
It's a mini because really soon here, we're going to get to Prometheus.
Okay.
And I think this book is only set like a month or so before the events of like
Okay. So Prometheus
the
is what
20-issue
happens.
story occurs, right?
Oh, okay.
Written by a completely different creative team, but was like a really popular book.
Did you say that like Prometheus was like a European
It's
comic?
a European comic. It was a publisher I'd never heard of, and I tried to find it online to buy it, and I just like I just wasn't finding it.
No way.
So I need to dig a little deeper, but it wasn't immediately available on
I
like
didn't have enough rubles to
my normal channels that I purchase these sort
It's
of
not on
things on.
Comixology or anything?
It might be, but I hate getting just digital comics.
Yeah.
I like to hold the book.
You hate the ones and zeros. You don't want to get any malware.
Especially with like I think like read a book however you want, and I have a Kindle and I like doing that, and I think it's just as well to say you read a book if you have an audiobook. It's all consuming information. Do it however you want.
Yeah.
But something that's like art and visual, I just like the tactile experience of paper and soaking that in and it not being on like a screen.
Yeah, same. I like my big useless piece of paper too. I'm not shaming you. I'm the same way.
So I'm gonna try to get a trade of that. But the prequel, very good.
I kind of want to check it out now. That sounds amazing.
The concept is great.
Yeah. Cool. All right, my number one is from Image Comics by Daniel Warren Johnson called Do a Powerbomb. Have you read it or know anything about it?
I've read the first issue.
Here's the thing with Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah.
The guy is a huge metalhead. He plays guitar very, very well. And all of the books that he writes, you think you're getting one thing.
Oh, there's so much heart in his
like
books.
with Murder Falcon
Yeah.
and his Wonder Woman Dead Earth. And with this book, Do a Powerbomb, you think you're getting one thing. For instance, Do a Powerbomb. You think you're going to get a straightforward wrestling story. And then it fucking levels you with an emotional take that just like cripples you for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And he does it so well.
That was one when I was reading that in like my stack of comics. Like that was one where I was like, well, I got to take a break.
Yeah. But it's like it's not like a Hallmark movie where it's just like it's too sad or like it's too like emotional for its own good.
Lifetime movie.
Yes, it's
Hallmark movies are a different kind of movie.
It's not a Christmas movie.
It's just Christmas romance movies. That's all they do.
Which I would love to see from Daniel Warren Johnson.
Oh, completely, yes.
But it's timeless and it's a classic thing that it emotionally connects with anyone who reads it.
Yeah.
Because everyone has experienced loss and tragedy, and like he likes to really highlight like the underdogs or the people on the skids that are just like, if I had my chance, I know I can fucking do this.
Yep.
And it's just so good. I always connect with this book. And this book is about this girl who essentially takes on the moniker of her mom, who was a wrestler who passed away. And you think she's just going to like be an amateur wrestler, and we follow her through her journey through the ranks of amateur wrestling. But it flips mid first issue where this like deity comes, a necromancer, where she gets to wrestle like in hell to bring her mom back. And from there, it's just batshit crazy, because not only is Daniel writing it, he's also drawing it, and he's a phenomenal illustrator. And it is, I can imagine he's just grinning while he's drawing this the entire time, because there are some visuals in here that are bananas, pun intended.
Well, First Issue Club, if you've missed our recommendations, there's not exactly 10 because we overlap some, but
there's a good 8.
Around 8 solid comics there to check out if you missed them.
Yeah.
Especially if you've...
Do you have your honorable mentions up?
Yeah, I do.
I have a couple honorable mentions.
All right. My honorable mentions were, just not mentioning the ones that you already covered.
Oh, thank you.
Were Ant-Man, Al Ewing.
So, yeah.
He's got that like 4-issue mini
Mm-hmm.
that is fantastic. Dark Spaces Wildfire. It's the Scott Snyder comic.
So that just got greenlit for a TV show.
Did it really?
As well, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I 100% could see that being a show.
Yeah.
It is, the first issue's fantastic. Seven Sons is a...
Okay, so that book from the covers, very spooky looking.
Yeah. It's another like religious horror kind of scary sci-fi book.
Yeah.
And then The Closet by James Tynion was my
that was one of his Substack.
last one.
Was
it really?
Yeah, it's one of his Substack comics.
I didn't realize
was
that.
exclusive, and it is now
On a publisher.
on Image.
Yeah.
That's only like 3 issues,
I think, yeah, they've only been like 3 issues out.
so it's not a long involvement.
Like 3 issues period and then it's over?
Mm-hmm.
That can't be true.
Yeah, it's a mini.
That's really short.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, sometimes that's perfect. 3 is enough. Some of my honorable mentions, I'll just go through them real quick. First of all, R.I.P. Once and Future, the series on Image.
Oh, yeah.
Last issue came out with number 30. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I had a great time with it. Earth Divers, Kaya, Dark Ride, Briar, The Roadie, Crashing, Quest Aside, and Heart Eyes. Go check those books out. They just came out in the last couple months. They're on the first, second issue. They're all light and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Great art. They're all mostly on Image, a couple on Vault.
Some of those books just came in my monthly shipment yesterday.
Yeah.
So they, may have been on my list too had I gotten to them yet. So I'm excited to read those.
Support the indies,
I've heard
guys.
a lot of good things about Briar, so I'm excited to read that.
It is gorgeous.
Nice. Cool.
It is so cool. And then Hard Eyes is written by Dennis Hopeless, local boy.
Oh, great. Yeah, I love
And
Dennis Hopeless.
it's-
His run on Spider-Woman is one of like my favorite Spider family runs
It's amazing.
ever.
It's the one where she's like pregnant.
Yeah, she gets
right?
pregnant in it.
Yeah. Hard Eyes, super fucking fun.
Mhm.
It's great. Kaya's cool. Like, I'm telling you, most of these books I mentioned were on Image
Mhm.
because they're just bringing out the big guns. Yep. Home run. They're Aaron
out of the
Judge in
park.
this.
Mhm.
Just home run after home run after home run after home run.
All right. Well, we're glad to be back.
Yep.
And we'll be back again next week
Probably.
on First Issue Club.
Bye.
First Issue Club is edited and produced by Mike DeStacy and Greg Lichtag. Follow us on social media at First Issue Club and check out our Patreon for videos, audio, and more at patreon.com/firstissueclub.